I just want to thank you for agreeing to have this interview with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
We wanted to get a little bit more of a perspective on who you were as a person. So today we'll be trying to get a better idea of what you're like outside of the presidency. But we'll start with where you were born.
I grew up in Lowndes County, Alabama, and that's called Central Alabama, in a small town called Calhoun. And grew up on a small farm, and I had a good upbringing there. But Lowndes County is a very historical place where the civil rights movement came through our hometown on the march from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, Alabama. And a lot of individuals were slain in Lowndes County, and particularly in Hayneville, Alabama, which is the county seat. My sister is now the first African-American female mayor there. And lots of changes have taken place there, but it has it's a very historical place.
So growing up during that time, what was it like for you as a kid? I mean, having to see those things growing up, what was the main goal day to day, trying to keep away from certain areas, or?
Well, I was a little boy during that time, although I was born in the 60s, 1961, and a lot of things took place during the 60s. My parents basically sheltered us and shielded us from those racist kinds of things. So I don't have the kind of experience, or I haven't seen the kinds of things that some other individuals had the opportunity to see and to experience. But we were shielded, my brothers and my sister and I were shielded from those kinds of things. But my parents talked to us about the challenges of the racist kinds of things that took place during the civil rights movement, the individuals who were killed during that time, and a lot of African Americans had to leave and fled the South and to go north or to the West or Midwest and other places for a better life. And most of them went north to have a better life. But personally, I did not experience those kinds of things. But in terms of what my parents said, I can remember my mother saying that even during times when people were, the burnings, the fires, or the killings and those kinds of things, she said, well, somebody is going to survive. Somebody is going to see a brighter day. My mother was a visionary, and she always looked to the future and always prepared for it. And she basically prepared us for it, my brothers and sister and I, and myself, for the future.
Outside of that preparation for the future, what was your upbringing like?
I grew up basically on a small farm where we planted various kinds of vegetables to sell to the market, and also basically as a source of food for us as well. We raised cattle as well, and so I had basically a lot of duties there on the farm in terms of picking those vegetables and during the harvest times, and just the basic life on the farm there. And I lived a simple life as my siblings and I did, as well as other individuals. I have friends, and friends were very valuable to me, but I basically associated with my family and my immediate family members, my cousins, and those kinds of things. My mother's from a family of 17, so you can imagine how many cousins I have. At the death of my grandmother, there were 70 living grandchildren, 104 great-grandchildren, and I'm one of the 70. And my father came from a family of 9. So on both sides of our family, they're basically large, and so I had lots of cousins to play with and lots of friends outside of that as well.
Growing up in an environment where you had to do your own farming and things of that nature, what kind of things did you take from that still kind of drive you today?
Well, I came from a very religious home, and my father was elder in the church. We went to church often, and they taught us about honesty and basically how to treat individuals They taught the golden rule: do unto others as you would have others to do unto you. And just a number of things in terms of good work ethics. I had to learn that because of the nature of what we had to do, and all of the chores that we had to do there on the farm, and just good wholesome values that my parents taught us. And those things carry with me today. I carry those same kinds of things with me today in terms of honesty, integrity. Those two mean a lot to me, and it helps. Though it also helps me in my daily walk, my daily dealing with people today, and I often think about those kinds of things. I can remember my mother often turning the television off at night so that we can talk about our family and our family history, talk about the things of the day that we deal with, the challenges that we face. And then one thing I vividly remember is that in her turning that television off, she would get the Bible out and she would have us to read, and not just to read to ourselves, but to read aloud. And we would talk about what we read about and how it applied to our daily living. And I think those are the kinds of things that I think about now when I'm dealing with certain things in terms of being a very spiritual person. That has really helped me rather, in shaping me and molding me into the kind of person that I am today.
Well, it sounds like you kind of summed up your philosophy, but I guess I have to ask, what is your philosophy on life and your everyday walk, as you said?
I believe in taking time to smell the roses, as my mother would say, to smell the roses as you go from day to day. In this role that I am in as president of Western Illinois University, and even prior to this, I'm so busy at all times. But what's important to me is to make sure that I take time to smell the roses. I take time with my family. I'm a family-oriented individual. I take time with my wife. I take time with my sons, and whatever they're involved in, whether it's sports or in their work, their schoolwork, or what have you. And I believe in taking time with people. Oftentimes when I go to meetings or to various functions, most of the time I'm only planning to be there for a short period of time, but I find myself spending more time in talking to people. I love people. I often try to find out the challenges that they are facing or the different things that they're dealing with. And sometimes I like staying there listening to those stories that they tell. And particularly when I go visit alumni, when they talk about Western Illinois University, I just ask a lot of questions, and I just love to hear those stories. And more so with the more experienced citizens who graduated years and years ago from Western. It is just wonderful to hear the stories that they tell about their experiences here at Western. And so I enjoy people, and I like to take that time out to spend with people, and then to talk about what we're doing here, and to talk about myself personally as well. So it's about taking time out of your busy day to work with people, to let people know that you are human, that you are touchable, and that you understand, that you sympathize with them, and that I'm a loving and caring person behind all of that I do.